the more I live and experience this thing called life, the more the saying that goes, the grass is not always greener on the other side, rings true to me. The more it comes alive in my mind, the more I understand it more, right? So I've been in the UK for almost 2 years now. A few months back, I started sharing this series on my experiences in the UK so far. It was meant to be like a 3-part series, but I ended up making just 2 videos. I got distracted and I forgot about the last one. And recently I was just reflecting on some experiences that I've had, some things that I've observed about life here, and just thought of, and I'm like, I was meant to do this video a while back and I didn't do it. So this is my intention for this video, to share some things that I find, I would say, a bit disappointing or surprising or whatever about life in the UK. And thankfully, thank God for social media. There are so many content creators now sharing about their experiences in the West. So I'm sure, many people have come to terms with some of the realities, even though, someone just sharing their experiences would not really make sense to you until you experience it yourself. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but at least, people are beginning to, see some of the realities of living in the West, that it is not all rosy. It is not all, all, paradise, trees with monies falling off it and stuff like that. So yes, guys, I am here to also share my own experience of things that I've seen. Thankfully, I've had like a very good experience so far. I have a very supportive network around me, and I've had access to opportunities so far that I wouldn't have had access to if I was here on my own. So I'm really grateful for the experience, and I'm thankful to be in the UK generally. I'm so grateful because, to be honest, our systems back home is really not great, and there's very few opportunities, especially for young people coming up. So I do not discount the amount of privilege that I have right now being here compared to others. So that is not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the UK is not great. If you have plans of, migrating to the UK, coming to study, to work or whatever, of course, go for it. Go for it with all your heart. But just know that it is not all rosy, and that is what I am here to share with you. Just a few things. I'm sure there are many others that I have not really thought of, but I have just a few things that I've observed, that I've experienced, that I think I should share with my audience. So that is what I'm here to talk about today. If you're new here, my name is Senna. Welcome to the channel. If you're not yet subscribed, consider joining the family and stick and stay with me as we grow on this journey. So if you are interested in hearing what I have to say in today's video, then keep on watching. Okay, guys, so I have my notes here with me. So I just put down a few points to guide me in my presentation. But the first thing that I'm going to mention in today's video is the fact that the societal setup in the UK is very individualistic compared to back home, when we are more community, family oriented. Let me try to explain what I mean. So when you come to the UK, I always wonder how people who come here alone, just travel alone with no families, wherever their destination is, they have no family, they just go to study or work or whatever, how they're able to cope for the first few months. Of course, as time goes on, you'd be able to, make some friends with your colleagues from work and school or whatever. But for the first few months, you're going to really struggle if you are a people person, because the societal setup here is very individualistic. Everybody is minding their own business. You can be on a flat with other people and not know your neighbors, or not see people for days. Everybody is just minding their business, compared to back home when everybody is just in everyone's business. I don't know about you, but I prefer that community culture. And so if you are like me and you're traveling abroad, just know that you would be on your own most of the time, and this can impact on your mental health. Like it can, make you feel lonely, depressed, or whatever. So that is just the first point that I have here, that the societal system here is very individualistic, is very individual focused. Even if you're studying, you'll be doing like lots of independent things. There's just that lack of a sense of community, and it just permeates in every thing that we are doing here. Even when you have friends at work, in my opinion, and at school and stuff like that, I feel like it is very surface level. It doesn't go deep, just because of the way the society is set up here, just because of the way their culture is. It's very different. So just keep that in mind. That it can be very isolating and lonely in the first couple of months, but believe you me, you would adjust, you would begin to make friends, and you'd begin to know how to cope with such situations. So that's my first point. Now the second thing about the UK that is not so great, this one is a bit controversial, because in my previous video I talked so highly about the healthcare system in the UK, and I do not take back my words in that video. Like, it's great. The healthcare system in the West compared to back home is of course excellent, but then the problem is accessing that healthcare. I don't know if you've heard news about how much the healthcare system in the West is under a lot of pressure, not just in the UK. I believe in like many parts of the West, the healthcare system is almost like at the point of breakdown. If you watch the news, they're always talking about how the NHS is the National Health Service in the UK. It's the organization or the body in charge of healthcare delivery in the UK. It is under so much pressure, guys, and accessing the healthcare is really difficult, because there's such a long waiting list, or the organization is understaffed, so they are really struggling to deliver healthcare to the optimum level. So for instance, if I there's something wrong with me and I need to talk to a doctor or something, you need to in the UK, you need to first speak to a general practitioner, which is like your first point of contact. You can't just walk into a hospital. You need to register with a general practitioner, which is a GP, when you come to the UK. And then if you need to access help, you have to call them first. Now, when I am calling my GP, guys, you can't believe that it can take you as much as 70 tries to be able to get through to someone, to be able to talk to someone. Like, you need to be able to, like, in order to gain access, you have to call them over the phone, and it can take you over 70 tries to be able to talk to someone and book in an appointment or whatever. So like I found that really frustrating, and sometimes when you're able to finally get through to a doctor and you explain your symptoms to them over the phone, like they don't really take their time to listen to you. They it feels like they're always in a hurry to get off the phone and then go on to the next person, which comes back to the system being understaffed, like I mentioned earlier. So you know how we talk about, when you back in Ghana, when you go to hospitals, they prescribe paracetamol to you for everything that you you complain about. It's beginning to feel like that is the same thing here, because the ones really listen to what you are saying to them. They just prescribe a medicine for you and send you over to the pharmacy to go for your medicine. And honestly, like, I found that's really surprising and very disappointing, because I was expecting like top-notch medical services in the West, and it's really not the case. And there are some times when you can't even get through to your GP at all. Like, people have complained, and I've watched people's channels on YouTube where they've complained about the fact that they have to exaggerate their symptoms or whatever they are going through to be able to get the professionals to take them seriously. That's how bad it is. So yes, guys, healthcare is great, but accessing it is not easy. It's not a walk in the park, especially if you're like black and if you're from a black and minority ethnic group like myself. It even feels harder to access. So yes, just keep that in mind, that healthcare is not so great in the UK. Now, another thing that is happening more frequently now is strike actions. Guys, you can't believe you can't imagine how much that surprises me. Like when I came like in 2021, it started like, the train workers will go on strike, the nurses will be threatening to go on strike, then university, teachers and school teachers and lecturers will be threatening to go on strike. Sometimes they will go, but then the strike will be organized. For instance, for my university, when lecturers need to go on strike, they will either prepare materials for us to read through, or make videos for us to watch or whatever. So even though the lecturers have gone on strike, teaching is still going on. We are still getting our hours in. You get it? So even though there are strike actions in the West, it is well structured, guys. It is nothing like back home where they just abandon everything and nothing goes on. Here, like, it is more structured, but I still find it surprising that there are pay issues to the point that professionals feel the need to strike. Like, the West is supposed to be heaven, guys. Don't you agree with me? So I find it really surprising, and it feels like as the days and the months go by, it's getting even worse. Like, more professionals are joining in, and this week, so many people have gone on strike. My university lecturers have been on strike this week as well, and for the first time, like, they just went. They didn't leave any any assignments or nothing to do. Like, it feels like it's getting more serious now. Like, they're trying to take actions to make the leaders know that they are really serious about what's going on. And guys, these people are complaining of pay, money. This is supposed to be the land flowing with milk and honey. So yes, guys, I find that really surprising. Teachers going on strike, nurses going on strike, even social workers are complaining, and if they could, they would go on strike. Like, everyone is complaining about cost of living in the UK. It's crazy. So yes, that's something that I find very surprising. Another thing is the high taxes. I mean, they always say it's back home that taxes in the West is very high, and you can see where these taxes are going to be honest. Like, the roads are good, the sanitation system is good, it's good. Although, like, I've seen some things that are like that surprise me about that, but it's good generally. So you see where the money is going to, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still very high. Like, when you are paid at the end of the month and the money is taken from your pay like this, your heart, you're like, what is going on here? I should be a rich baby girl, like, living the softest life ever, because I'm earning a lot of money, right? But by the time the taxes are taken out, it's like you have nothing left. And to be honest, there are statistics out there that shows that many people in the UK, like, live from hand to mouth. Like, by the time you pay, you pay your bills and expenses and whatever, like, you have very little left to save. Like, people have nothing left to save. So you're literally living from, paycheck to paycheck. And to me, like, that's not a good standard of living. So yes, the high taxes are crazy. I know I'm not working yet. I'm still a student, but I do work I have worked for a bit over the holidays last summer. Like, I worked a lot of hours. I think I shared a video about that anyway, and I was taxed, like, for the first time ever, in, like, my heart, guys. Anyway, let's leave that at that. So these next ones that I'm going to talk about are, they do not affect me directly, but I find them really surprising that these things happen here in the UK as well. These are things that happen a lot in back home, and I find that it's happening here as well, and I find it really surprising. Maybe because of the career path that I'm in, I'm just exposed to the part of society that is usually covered up, that they don't talk about a lot. And so the next thing I have here is juvenile delinquency. Teenage pregnancy, stuff like that. Teenage pregnancy is really high in the UK. I remember that back home in Ghana, like it used to be something that was talked about a lot, like some years back, and I'm sure it still happens now. But it is also very much here, like on my placements in my social work placements, like you come across many cases of very young mothers, like very young parents, not just the women, but the men as well, like 16, as low as 17-year-old, as low as 14-year-old, sorry, moms, like people giving birth at a very young age. And then also in the part of the UK or London where I stay, there's a very high level of, crime, gang affiliations, knife crimes. I just find these things really surprising because I didn't expect that, in a law-abiding or lawful country or society like the West, that you find these crimes or this situation very rampant. I mean, I know that there are lawbreakers in every society, of course. Like I know that, but like I'm just surprised at the height of this, like how much of it occurs. So yes, that's something that I really find surprising. And then the last thing that I find surprising, which is very closely linked to the fact that I'm in a career that exposes me to some of these things, is homelessness. In the UK, guys, there's so many rough sleepers on the streets of London. Like some of these people are there because of drug related issues or mental health or whatever. And I believe the government does a lot to get them off the streets, to provide them like with accommodation, to provide them with support with their mental health or drug use or whatever it is that they are experiencing. But it's really difficult, and there are still lots of them out there. Some of them even have homes, but they choose to rough sleep or just sleep on the streets. And I find that's really surprising and disturbing. Like not just homeless people sleeping on the streets, but beggars as well on the streets of London, guys. Anyway, so this is just me reflecting, thinking out loud about the things that I observe in a Western society. And it's not all roses, guys. It's not all rosy. Anyways, guys, so those are my little points that I have to share, my thoughts on some of these things that happens in the UK, or that I've seen, or that I've experienced. And if you have experienced any of these, or if there are things that you've found surprising since you've been in the UK yourself, do feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation going. What do you think? Do you think the grass is definitely greener on the other side? Do you think that the grass is green where you water it? This is not a video to discourage anyone, guys. This is just my thoughts and reflections. I am grateful to be here. Like, I'm not leaving here anytime soon. Although I do have plans to go back home someday, but like not anytime soon. I'm grateful to be here. I'm still very happy, and I stand by everything that I shared in my previous video about, why I like living in the UK. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you've watched to this point and you're not yet subscribed, guys, kindly just click on the red subscribe button down below. It's free. And also click on the bell icon close to it so that you get notified anytime I upload a new video. And I'll see you in my next one.